Hello my friends and fellow VEDSies, it is day number 20 and we're going to continue to look at song intros. This time acoustic guitar intros. Let's go. Number 15, Kong Wo Lai by Richie Jen. Richie Jen is a Taiwanese singer and actor who my Mandarin teacher in high school absolutely loved. She used this song to help us memorize directions, and so it has a really special place in my heart. And maybe that's why I love this intro so much. There's a great sense of anticipation in it that always gets me excited. Number 14, California Dreamin' by the Mamas and the Papas. This song is just so damn good. There's so much wonderful suspense built into this intro. My favorite part is the way it takes the major scale as this 2 and triplet chord, with the next step down in the scale being hidden in the chord before we head into the vocals. It's so simple but extremely effective, and I just love it. 13, Send Me On My Way by Rusted Root. When it comes to guitar, I tend to lean more towards songs with picking over just straight up chords. I have piano brain, and that's easier for me to process as a melody. And oh my goodness, this is such a great melody. Jumping the octave in the song makes for a bouncy, adventure-y feel, which is probably why it's used so often in movies and commercials. Number 12, More Than a Feeling by Boston. I mean, talk about songs you recognize in an instant. Back in high school, before football games, the marching band would get pumped up by playing songs through the band director's computer. And this one guy, Brian, he liked dad music even more than I do. And you always knew that he got his hands on the keyboard when you heard this song. This intro is somehow able to be calm and still pump you up at the same time, which is such a difficult and wonderful balance to strike. Number 11, First Day of My Life by Bright Eyes. This choice might be a little out of left field for some people, but again, I love fingerpicking, and I love string squeaks. As I was looking up the term for this video, I found out that those are actually kind of considered bad form, but to me they bring so much more emotion to a performance. And that's essential, especially in a song like this that's so painfully sincere. Combine that with a bouncing, gentle rhythm, and I feel like I'm out in a field of flowers sharing secrets with someone that I care about, or some other sort of imagery like that that perfectly suits this song. Number 10, Return to Pooh Corner by Kenny Loggins. People know this song? I looked up reasons people might know this song, and all I found were an episode of Full House and that Daft Punk sampled it, so like, maybe? I don't know what other people like, I just know what I like, and this song was a cornerstone of my childhood. Which is a little ironic, because the song is about childhood. And even if I didn't tell you that, I think you'd be able to tell just by this intro how gentle it is. It's almost like a lullaby. And just absolutely beautiful. Fine. Good Riddance, Time of Your Life by Green Day. This is probably one of the most predictable songs on this list in terms of songs that most people would think to put on a list like this. I think what really makes it stand out, to me at least, is the rhythm. Because it ends up working out like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Which isn't technically that complicated, but it's certainly a bit odd, which makes it stand out. Number 8, Hurt by Johnny Cash. What can I say about this song that hasn't been said already? Well, it's built with sevenths, which is pretty cool. You don't really see a lot of major sevenths and stuff because there's a lot of suspense in that interval. Think, a world of pure imagination, a world. And what's really smart about this intro is that it camouflages that by building it out of 2 intervals that we register as much more solid. Specifically, we're talking about a perfect 4th and a major 3rd. But the result is that it culminates in something that sounds just slightly off. And that is just genius. Number 7, Sunshine on My Shoulders by John Denver. Now, after having that awesome technical explanation for why Hurt is so cool, I wish I had something similar for this song because I love it so much. John Denver was such an incredible talent, both as a singer and a songwriter, and I feel like his guitar work was just so sincere and emotive, just like everything about his work, really. And Sunshine on My Shoulders in particular conveys so much with just such simple choices, and that's what makes it so special to me. Number 6, The Sound of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel. Again, like, of course this had to make it on the list. How could it not be here? Everyone can recognize those first few notes and know exactly what's coming. Even little kids recognize this one thanks to trolls. I was curious to see what the deal was with this, to figure out what was going on. And what they're doing here is breaking a traditional rule of music to create an unsettling feel. See, there are certain intervals in a scale that we recognize as pleasing, and others carry a lot of tension. Typically, a composer will move to one of those tense intervals and then resolve it by reaching the nearest pleasing interval. A classic example is Maria from West Side Story. The phrase begins with a tritone, also known as a minor fourth. Marie. And there's so much tension there that when we take the half step down to our perfect fourth, Maria, it resolves the phrase with what our brain wants to hear. Now, Sound of Silence, on the other hand, does the exact opposite. It originally presents us with a perfect fourth, but then it goes down to a minor third. It keeps bouncing between those intervals, so there's this push and pull going through the entire intro where we don't know how it's going to resolve, and it creates this uneasy feeling, especially when the vocals begin on that minor third. Number 5, I Won't Give Up by Jason Mraz. With this list, I've been making a real effort to do some music theory analysis to the best of my ability, but sometimes the theory just isn't enough. And this song is definitely one of those times. There's nothing particularly special happening here. There's such a gentle warmth to this opening, and really this song in general, that makes it very special and very recognizable. Number 4, Hotel California by the Eagles. Oh god, do I actually have to explain why the opening of Hotel California is good? I feel like that's just one of those things we pop out of the womb with an understanding of. It's so rich and ethereal and is simultaneously grounded and otherworldly, and that perfectly fits the subject matter. Plus, it's one of the only long-ass intros where I'm totally on board the entire time, and that in and of itself has to count for something. Number 3, Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. Y'all, I don't even like the Beatles, and I still like this song enough for it to be this high up on the list. There's so many great things about this song and this intro, but the one I want to point out is the rhythm. Who'd have guessed the former percussionist really likes talking about rhythm? It's another one of those ones that technically isn't complicated, and you'd never think about it as tricky when you're listening to the song, but seeing it on the page actually does make you pause. Again, it's like the only Beatles song that doesn't give me a headache. That's pretty damn impressive in and of itself. Number 2, Fire and Rain by James Taylor. Really, a list like this would be incomplete without James Taylor. He's one of the most iconic singer-songwriters of all time and has a wealth of beautiful guitar work under his belt. But nothing compares to Fire and Rain. Even before you know the story, you know that this is a profound piece of work. And you can tell that just from this intro alone. It's sad and it's sweet, and you immediately know that you're listening to something really special. And number 1 is Time in a Bottle by Jim Croce. I flipped these last 2 a lot while making this list because it was a really difficult choice for me. And while I think Fire and Rain is overall the more recognized and beloved song, I can't just ignore the subtle majesty that is Time in a Bottle. I listen to a lot, and I mean a lot, of sad music. And after a while, you sort of get used to it. Not that you don't appreciate it, but you're able to move past the tragedy of the subject matter and just focus on the calming way it sounds. But Time in a Bottle is simply far too powerful for that. I still get emotional every time I hear it, and that's really, really special. But yes, those are my top 15 acoustic guitar intros. I'm very curious to hear what y'all think, and as always, my friends and fellow VEDSies, I will see you tomorrow.